you so much. It's really, really interesting to me that for every single speaker that you've seen today, including me, as soon as we walked out on stage, without anyone ever explicitly telling you to, you started applauding. And then it's also really interesting to me that every single speaker, including me today, walking out on stage after you applauded, said, "Thank you." Again, without anyone explicitly telling us to. It's almost like that's a conditioned response. Now, a conditioned response means that a certain trigger or a certain stimulus, in this case, me walking out on stage, elicits a certain cue or a certain response in you. We meet these responses everywhere in life all the time. I think one of the best examples that I could think of is when you walk down the street and a certain smell comes into your nose and it just takes you right back to childhood. Did you ever experience that? Is that something you know about? I think it is, right? It's a cue response system. Today I'll talk about where we find these cue response systems, how they work, and more importantly, how we can make these cue response systems work for ourselves. Now, before we get to that, I think it might be interesting and fun to actually do a quick demonstration concerning cue response systems. So let's take a quick look. I think we're going to have somebody join us up on stage, and that'll be... what the fuck? So, fair enough. Somebody like in the very, very back. Is that right? Who's that? Oh, he's too needy, but that's fine. Let's get him up on stage. Let's give him a round of applause. It's going to be a long way. It'll be a long way. Get him up on stage. Long, long way. Fantastic. It'll take a little while until he's coming from all the way in the back. At some point during the talk, I will be teaching you how to elicit cue response systems yourself at will. We will get to that in a moment. I will also talk about how they work and the neurological processes behind cue response systems. So let's see if that dude is already walking out. I think he's coming, yes. We have an ice rink in the backstage, and as soon as he comes to it, give him a round of applause. Fantastic. How are you? I'm Timon. It's a pleasure to meet you. Are you good? Fantastic. Tony, you good?
Yeah.
Amazing. Did you enjoy the talk so far?
Yeah.
Yes. And did you have...
Inspiring.
Really inspiring. Yeah. And did you have a good day today?
Sure, for sure.
Amazing. Tony, can you do me a favor and maybe think back to a moment from last week or the last few days that made you happy, something that made you feel really good?
When I was reading about marketing,
good.
The function of marketing in the computer, in the AI,
fantastic.
Yeah, okay.
That is already good enough. It's good enough for me. Now, Tony, being a marketer, come up to the front. Being a marketer, you already obviously know about conditioning, don't you?
Conditioning?
You might. I'll explain it to you. I'm not sure if you realize, but every time since you've been on stage and you smiled or said, "Yes, I touched your arm." Did you notice this?
Yeah.
It's strange, isn't it? Put your hand out, Tony. Put your hand out. Just realize what happens in your mind, that your mind go blank. When we go back up there and the memory might be linked to the spot in your mind, just realize what happens when we go up your arm and we touch that arm. Can you feel that happiness coming back in you?
Yeah.
Does it feel good? It's a conditioned response. It's a neurological response. The cool thing, Tony, is that you can do this yourself as well. Would you like me to show you?
Of course.
Extend your hand. Perfect. Move your own hand up there. Go ahead. And move it slowly up there. And just realize that when you touch that arm, it comes right back to you, doesn't it? Just touch that arm. How does that feel?
Weird.
It feels weird, but good enough, yeah? I think that's good enough. Give him a round of applause. Get your seat. Thank you, Tony. Fantastic. I think that was good for a quick demonstration. Thank you, Tony. Now I'm seeing some of you thinking, what the heck did we just see? What just happened? What we just did was a very, very quick and very brief demonstration of conditioned response in action. The first time I got into investigating conditioned response was when I was 12 years old, and I saw a hypnosis show being played at a holiday park. And to me, seeing that hypnosis show was the most magical thing I had ever seen. And it was the moment that I decided that I wanted to become a hypnotist or a mentalist or a magician. I went on that path. I went to write some people to learn about hypnosis or mentalism or mind reading, and everybody thought that at 12 years old, I was too young to do that. So I did what any 12-year-old would do. I started teaching myself. And I copied exactly what I saw on stage and took it from there. I think there was more luck involved than actual skill, but I made it through. At 16 years old, I went to New Zealand. I found a mentor. He helped me write my very first book on hypnosis, which got me in touch with people all around the world. I then got to be awarded the title of Best European Mentalist last year, and finally got to fulfill my dream to play in Las Vegas for the very first time last year as well, and that was amazing. It was really cool. Now, I'm not going to talk to you about the drive or the inspiration or the love that I have for that. And it is a love. It's, in fact, so much of a love that I have my logo, which stands for the love for magic, tattooed onto my wrist because it's the one thing I love most in life. Because I think there's people that will talk about inspiration way better than I. But I will talk to you about the one tool that I have used that has done me well over the last 11 years, time and time again, which is anchoring or conditioned response. I think the best definition I can give you of anchoring or conditioned response would be an anchor refers to any specific cue that elicits a predictable response. A predictable response means that it repeats itself. Now, if I were to ask some of you if you feel like having a coffee right now, some of you might say yes, some of you might say no. 10 minutes from now, this might be different. It's not a predictable response, it's not conditioned. But a person that's maybe hugely afraid of spiders, as soon as they see the cue, the stimulus of a spider, their response will predictably be fear. That's what it means for it to be a predictable or a conditioned response. When I first encountered this concept, I thought, great, it's good for me to know that there are specific cues that trigger specific responses, but what good does it if I can't control those cues? I will let you in on 2 secrets about conditioning. The first one is that if you know the correct trigger, you can elicit any response in yourself or others that you wish. And some of you already know this. I'm sure there must be people in the audience right now maybe wearing a special piece of clothing that makes you feel sexy, and it makes you therefore feel confident. Or maybe some of you put on a piece of jewelry that you consider to be a lucky charm. I put on my lucky socks. They have pucks on them, because I love pucks, and they make me feel really happy. And all these things really are certain cues that trigger a specific response in you. Does that make sense? So you already know that you can trigger these responses. The second secret, and this is where it gets really cool, is that you can set up, create new trigger response systems at will. Again, I hear you thinking, that's great, but how do we do that? Now, before we get into the how that works, let's talk real quickly about why that works. And it works due to 2 mental slides, if you want, 2 slides of mind that your brain is capable of doing, the first one of which being pattern recognition. Pattern recognition, we'll get to that in a moment. Pattern recognition means that your brain is able to learn from past experiences and then to apply this learned behavior to new similar situations. Basically what this means is that pattern recognition helps us not make the same mistakes twice. There's a reason for this. It's an evolutionary reason. When you think about maybe your caveman ancestors running into a ferocious cat and they're barely escaping with their lives, it would now be good for the brain to make the leap that when next time they enter a similar situation, they meet a similar cat, they don't want to go cuddle it, but they apply the learned knowledge and realize that it's not a good idea to go near. That's what pattern recognition is. It's also how anchoring or conditioning works. In anchoring and conditioning, we enter a situation, we get a specific cue, and this cue will elicit a specific response. This cue could be anything. Me saying something, it could be a smell, it could be a jewelry you put on. It elicits a response, and depending on if that situation plays out well for you, positive effect. Next time around, you get a strengthened, positive response to the same or a similar cue. Or if it plays out negatively, next time you get a reduced or weakened negative response to the clue, effectively driving you away from similar situations. Does it make sense? I think it does, yes? It's also the reason that at some point only imagining an anchor is enough, and we'll get to that. The second sleight of mind that our brain is capable of doing is called action imagery. It's research, and I think this is one of the most fascinating pieces of research ever done by Dr. David Hamilton. Dr. David Hamilton had a group of people over the course of several weeks practice a very simple piano song. Once he was sure that these people had really hammered that song in there, he took them into his laboratory and he took a brain scan while these people were playing their simple set of notes. That's the boring part. The fascinating part happened right after, because he took another brain scan, this time, however, asking the people to only imagine that they were playing the same thing. The really cool thing is that if you held up both brain scans next to each other, just from looking at them, there was no way to distinguish which brain scan was taken when they actually played the song and which brain scan was taken when they merely imagined playing the song. What this tells us is that in our brain, there is no essential difference between having an actual experience or vividly imagining it. And that's exactly what will enable us to create anchors for ourselves. Let's get to that. Again, how do we do that? There's a simple plan I devised for you, a 5-step anchoring plan to doing this yourself. The first step that we will always want to take when we set up a new cue response system for ourselves is to decide on a stimulus and a state. The state could be the emotion that you want to anchor, maybe happiness or confidence or focus or concentration. For the sake of demonstration, we will do this together in a moment. Let's say that the cue, the trigger that we will use is going to be this, placing your thumb and your forefinger together like this. Do it with me. Place your thumb and your forefinger together. Fantastic, like you did it before. Amazing technique. Love it. Very well done. The response to this state, the response to this trigger will be, I think happiness is a good one. That's generally accepted to be a good state of mind to be in, isn't it? I think that will be good. Happiness will be the response. The next step you will want to take is to vividly imagine this state. And the simplest way I found of doing that is to find 2 or 3, better 3, memories where that state is prominent. We just did that when we had our volunteer on stage with 1 single memory. 2 or 3 memories are going to be better. So if you're not already thinking about it, please start finding 2 or 3 memories where you felt happy. They could be really prominent, they could be fresh, they could be spectacular, or it could be something as simple as that you really liked your sandwich this morning. Be something very straightforward. But wherever the emotion of happiness is prominent, that's going to be good for this. Step number 3 is going to be to step inside this daydream. This is where you're going to utilize your brain's ability to imitate a real experience. I'll walk you through the script in a moment. Once you're there, and once by stepping inside your daydream, you pump that emotion up to as highly as you possibly can in that very moment, you will apply your stimulus, essentially training yourself to respond to this stimulus with the state that you want to respond that way. All that's left afterwards is to test, use, and enjoy your anchor. We'll do that together. So if you're ready, if you found 2 or 3 memories to do this with, let's go. Close your eyes for me. I'm not going to punch you. Just close your eyes for a moment. Trust me on this, okay? Fantastic. Take your first memory, and this could be the stronger memory, or it could be the first one that comes up in your mind. And when you have that, then focus on the visual aspect of that memory. What do you see? Where are you? Who's with you? And try and go into the details a little bit in your mind. And from there, shift your focus to the auditive aspect of that memory. Listen to what you heard. Words, environmental sounds, your own heartbeat, breathing. And from there, shift it again to what you smelled. There might have been good smells or bad smells, prominent smells, subtle smells. And when you're already at it, go to what you could taste. And maybe there was no specific taste in your mind right now, and if that's the case, then be aware of that as well. And from there, one more time, shift your focus to what you could feel. Just the physical feeling, position of your body, exhaustion, energy, touch, temperature, clothing, any of those things will do. And from there, shift your focus to what you could feel inside that emotion. Notice where in your body it starts and allow it to grow stronger with every breath you take. Give it a color if you can and make the color brighter. Make it move through your body quicker and quicker. Allow it to grow into your hands, your fingers, your legs, into your toes, up into the tips of your hairs, into your face. If you want to smile, you can smile. That's absolutely fine. And in a moment, I'm going to count from 3 to 0. And with each number that I count, I'd like you to let that emotion grow stronger and stronger, as strongly as you possibly can. And once we are at 0, do your anchor movement, thumbs and forefingers for 3 seconds, then release and keep your eyes closed. We will do one more memory afterwards. That'll be 3. Allow that memory to go stronger and stronger. Allow it to curse through your body. Allow that smile to spread onto your face. That'll be 2, making it grow warmer and warmer, harder and harder throughout your body. That'll be 1, get ready to press, and 0. Press your anchor together for 3 seconds, 2, 1, release, close your eyes, and let go. Fantastic. You're doing amazingly well. I can see so many of you smiling right now. It looks really good. We'll go to the second memory. We'll go through this one a little more quickly because you already know what's about to happen. Second memory, take a look at the visual aspect of your memory. What did you see? Where are you? Day or night? Details, people around you, location. Then go to what you heard. Maybe words being spoken, heartbeat, breathing, and what you smelled. Good smells, bad smells, subtle smells, intrusive smells. And from there, once again, shift to what you could taste. And if there's no specific taste, then be aware of that as well. And once you've done all those things, and you reconstructed your memory bit by bit, once you've done all those things, go to what you felt in your body, just a physical feeling, physical sensation of temperature, movement, position. And once you've got that, once again, notice where in your body that emotion of happiness is located. Notice where it starts and allow it to grow stronger with each moment that you're listening to me, with each breath that you take, and allowing it to course through your body more and more. Get ready. In a moment, I'm again going to count from 3 to 0. And again, with each number that you hear me count, allow that emotion to grow higher and higher. And once we arrive at 0, press your thumbs and your forefinger together once more to condition yourself to that stimulus and that response. That'll be 3. Allow that memory to grow stronger and stronger through your body into every aspect of your body and being. That'll be 2. Allow it to grow more and more. And 1 and 0. Put your hands together. Fantastic. That's looking good. 3, 2, 1, and release. And let go, and open your eyes and shake it off. Fantastic. It was already worth it to me to just do this for seeing so many of you smile. Really cool. Very well done. We're missing one last step. And by the way, if you want to do this at home for any other emotion than happiness, focus, or concentration, on the TEDx website, or TEDxFryslân website, we have provided this very script for you to use and enjoy. You can do this with other people, you can do this with yourself, you can set more than one single anchor. The last thing we need to do is to test and use the anchor. So let's do a quick test for the anchor. Maybe all of you, let your minds go blank and give yourself a scaling from 1 to 10 at where you would rate your happiness right now. Maybe 1 means I'm just about to leave, and 10 means I'm really, really very happy. Let your mind go blank. It might be 3 or 4. It might be somewhere in the neutral, I'm happy every day kind of vibe. So give yourselves a rating for that. How happy are you right now? And then in a moment, we're going to use the anchor together from 3 to 0. In a moment, we will use this together. And at 0, you will press your anchor together. You'll do this for 10 seconds, and you will do your very best to bring that emotion of happiness up again. And we will test it against where you are right now. So if you have a rating in mind, close your eyes. Get ready to do your anchor. This is the test. I will count from 3 to 0. On the count of 0, put your anchor together. You get 10 seconds to bring that emotion up as highly as you can. That'll be 3, 2, 1. Press your anchor together, and 10 seconds. 9, allow that emotion to grow, 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 grow. 7, 6, 5, allow it to grow more and more throughout your body. 4, 3, 2, 1, let go and release. Fantastically done. The more often you do this, the stronger it will actually get. And just test yourself against that. Check again, on a scale from 1 to 10, how happy are you? And if you are, after doing your anchor, even only 1 or 2 or 3 points happier, raise your hand for me. I want to see this. Who feels happier? And that's quite a lot of you. And that, for you, is how you create an emotion or happiness literally at the push of a button. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.